Well, it's Thursday, and you all know what that means. So today we're going to be doing, of course, 4 reviews. The first one is from ChocoPro number 525 with some fun, interesting matches, of course, as we head for the Meishuga's show that will take place very soon. And then, of course, we move on with another Japanese promotion, and this one is from P.P.P Tokyo with the Platinum Anniversary, the Dragon God's Feast. Now, this one features a pretty amazing main event. This is the crowning of the first ever women's champion. Chanyota, of course, will be facing off against Ichika Miyabi, who will be the inaugural champion. So I can't wait to go through all of this with all of you. And then, of course, we move on with Ring of Honor featuring many matches, of course, but the main event features the ROH World Television title. As you know, AR Fox defeated Nick Wayne, but however, former champion himself, Shane Taylor, is determined to reclaim this title that belongs to him, believing that he's the one that made it what it is today. So we'll see how things roll up. And as for TNA, well, as you probably know, a lot of things are going to be taking place. Vincent will take on Broken Matt Hardy, while their tag partners will be handcuffed in the ring post. We even have, of course, Zaya Brookside versus Jada Stone, the TNA International Championship online, but the main event is Steve Maclin, as you know, made his return to reclaim the TNA World title against a man that he lost to recently, of course, and that is Mike Santana. So we'll see how things will go from there. And of course, as always, we'll wrap up our episode as usual with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information is unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do some real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us and click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough of the jibber jabbers. School is in session, so let's begin, of course, with ChocoPro. Okay, ChocoPro number 525. Now, this is their much latest event, of course. We have the general manager, Aoi Kizuki, opening up, giving the info on the entirety of what the event matches are, and of course, greeting the fans. But however, as soon as she was done, as you know, back when we do one of their bigger shows, we always have Mei Suga does her little performance of her own song. However, she decided to do it in a smaller way, but also with the help of the latest rookies, the new trainees, Waka, Chiyu, and Rin. So they basically helped her out, and it was a pretty good performance, even though they didn't use no music on it. But it was an okay. Now, our first match, we have tag team action. We have Minoru Fujita and Sayaka Obihiro, aka Obi, taking on Shin Suzuki and Chiko Shikawa. However, before the match even began, they made it perfectly clear of both Obi and Fujita that they will not be using the gong. Now, I don't know if I can trust them, but that's how they said it. The match was pretty good. It seems like Shin and Chi had everything under control as a way to try to pick up the win. But however, of course, Fujita and Obi did not keep their word. They used the gong again, and that kind of played out. But it was Obi that took out Suzuki with the Obi magic, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Next up, we have, of course, singles action. Soy from Evolution takes on Transam Hiroshi. Now, obviously, Transam Hiroshi is a very capable wrestler, but however, the one thing you gotta be more careful with him is that don't allow him to sing, because that will distract you. We've seen him do many times. Now, I didn't mention many times. My favorite one that he ever did is when he was singing "We Will Rock You" along with everybody in the rock. This was during the time when COVID still has not lifted its restrictions, but it was fun. But it kind of worked in his favor. But however, of course, Transam Hiroshi was able to dodge, of course, Soy's powerful moves by applying his knees onto her, and then later pinfall. 1, 2, 3, over. Now our main event is, of course, Monotatsu Nakamura teaming up with So What Chonshiru to take on the Best Bros. Now, of course, many of you know that the Best Bros will have a showdown with each other later on, and I can't wait to see that. But this time, they have to coexist this time, of course, to take on their opponents. And that's exactly what we do. Now, of course, when it comes to the Best Bros, we know how they are very cohesive, how they're very unite and all of that. But I don't know about Nakamura and Shon, but they were capable of. But unfortunately, it was Monotatsu who ended up being taken down by both the Best Bros in a double pinfall. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. And as for the Jonkin tournament, well, we ended up with the finals with Soy and Chonshiru. Now, Chonshiru has wanted to, so has Soy, but I wasn't too sure. But unfortunately, Chonshiru went rock, while Soy went paper. Just like that, just rock, paper, scissors. That way, Soy picked up the win and got the piece of chocolate. So, it was a fun event. I can't wait to see what else they're going to do as we head to the next big show. So right now, we're done with ChocoPro. Let's move on with our next review, and this is from P.P.P. Tokyo. Okay, P.P.P. Tokyo, this is their latest show that just happened, of course, in Shinjuku FACE, which, as you all know, it's not very long until they close down their doors. But I'm glad we got to see this. And their latest event is called Platinum Anniversary, The Dragon God's Beast. Now, there's a lot of good matches that took place on this one. Now, we did start it out with of course, what's called a False Count Anywhere dark match. So basically, this was just the start. I don't know the wrestlers themselves. There was a guy named Munori Sawa and Kazutaki Sawaki. Don't know much, but the match wasn't not entirely in the ring. It was also outside. But one thing that was crazy is that as soon as they were entering the one entrance where there's the merch stand, they just disappeared. Now, we did not see them until, of course, after the match between Zones and Non Toraga. Yeah, hopefully pronounce it. But of course, it was going crazy. We had many wrestlers, including the ones that already had the first matches. But it ended with, of course, Sawa picking up the pinfall, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, before anything else happened, we did have, of course, the the P.P.P Tokyo girls making their entrance. Of course, if you ever seen them, these girls are the escorts of the wrestlers making their way to the ring. They had many of them. I think about maybe somewhere between 8 and 10. And then they had, of course, like a little bit of a stripper pole dance that took place, which was a very interesting thing. You don't see this in this type of wrestling event, but it is real in in Japan. So there is videos of this, but if you guys are unable to do so, because I'm not sure how long they're going to keep it for free, they'll try to put it into the charging thing where you have to subscribe to the channel. So yeah, just letting you guys know about that. Now, our first match, we have, of course, Choji Owatani and Yukimiho, no, no, Mitsu Takayushi. They take on, of course, Kentaro Hashisu, and of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Shima. Many of you know him from Dragon Gate, and of course from OWE. He's also a member of the. Used to be a member of the of Strong Hearts, one of the most awesome factions I've ever watched, of course. And he teams up with them. It was a pretty good match, and I did enjoy it. And but unfortunately, in the end, it was Shima that picked up the win when he applied a Meteora on an Otani. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. But however, we did see a bit of a promo from Shima. Don't know what he said. But yes, he did ask Kentaro to join him. I don't know what they said either, but yes. Now, our next match, we have Taraya taking on Zones. Now, for those who don't know who she is, Nan Taraya, she is, of course, another girl that was trained by Chanyota, who also came from the same kind of work that Chanyota did, involved in the Japanese adult films back over there, and she transitioned to, of course, to pro wrestling. However, she's facing a wrestler who Chanyota, as you know, teamed up and faced off in the past, Zones. Now, Zones, we know that she has far more better experience. We've seen her what she did. She's the first ever inaugural Evolution Strong Women's Champion. It sets it of herself. And these girls went out into a powerhouse frenzy. But unfortunately, the powerhouse for this particular match was none other than Zones. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our next match, we have women's action. We have Natsu Surime, teaming up with Marika Kobashi. Now, before she went to the ring, Marika Kobashi was messing around with the stripper pole, and she did a pretty good job. But however, their opponents are none other than Riara, and of course, the much recent departed from Mighty Gold, Utami Ishida. So yes, this was a very interesting matchup. But however, in this match, it seems that, Riara got too carried away, like she was being targeted. She was intense of getting, of course, Natsu Surime's attention. I don't know if that was wise from her, because in the end, she ended up in a modified sleeper, and just like that, she had no choice but to tap out. Our next match is Soida Emoji teaming up with Beast Murayama, taking on Shuji Kondo, and of course, the boss of P.P.P Tokyo and the founder, Kabuto Hitomi. And I thought this match was pretty good. There was going to be a bit of the powerhouse or house fight in this matter, but in the end, it was Kojo who picked up the win with a lariat onto Murayama, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. Now, our main event is the crowning of the first ever P.P.P Venus of Party, the Women's Championship, between Chanyota and Ichika Miyabi. Now, for those who don't know, Chanyota was the first and only girl they had in the promotion until they started opening the doors. And of course, Chanyota started training new wrestlers to be part of the promotion. But she's facing, of course, Ichika Miyabi, who many of you may or may not have been aware of. She is another transitional wrestler. You know what I mean? Used to be a guy, now turned to a man. And she's the second person in Japan that I know of. No, third actually. There was the third wrestler that I know of. But yes, but it was a pretty good match. But however, Miyabi was doing whatever it takes to ensure that Chanyota does not win. But Chanyota was able to pick up the win with a running slam of some sort. It looked like it, but just like that, 1, 2, 3, she became the first ever champion. And of course, it doesn't take long until her next opponent will be naming, and the opponent is her very own friend and tag partner, of course, Zone. So basically, that's how it's going to be. Don't know when it's going to be, but it's going to be interesting to see. So we'll see what happens. But for right now, we are done with, of course, P.P.P Tokyo. Let's move on with TNA. Okay, I made a mistake. The next review is, of course, Ring of Honor. I thought it was TNA, but no, my bad. There we go. So anyway, we opened up with Action Andretti versus QT Marshall. Now, of course, we saw what happened in Supercard of Honor. Action Andretti, well, we thought he was going to support, of course, Lio Rush, but he turned his back on him. So he shows a brand new attitude, and of course, he acts like he thinks he's the real star of the show, and that's exactly what he did. QT, who we know is a good veteran in the wrestling business, but unfortunately you would have thought he would have picked up the win, but no, he lost to Action and Jetty with a neck breaker, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. Next up, we have Hyan and Maya World. As we know, they are a fantastic team. They take on, of course, Ali Catch and Kaya McKenna. Now, obviously, this match was going to go in favors of Hyan and Maya World, and that's exactly what they did. They were able to pull off, of course, a good cohesion between them, and it was Maya World to pick up the win onto McKenna. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, adios. Now, Shane Taylor, as you know, has been paying attention to what's been going on. He called out AR Fox in particular because he has something that he feels it belongs to him, and that is the ROH World Television title. Because, as you know, recently, before Supercard of Honor, AR Fox defeated Nick Wayne for this belt, and that's exactly so he wants it back. So you can tell that. Now, our next match, we have Roosh versus Ryan O'Neal. Well, you probably can guess that this match went quickly because he ended up taking the, like the old saying goes, you mess with the bull, you get the horns. And that's what happened. He got the bull horns by Roosh because nada pasa, which means nothing happens. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, we have the premier athletes, of course, Tony Nese and Arya Davari taking a Busta in the Brain. Now, of course, it doesn't take a genius that Mark Sterling is crying like a little girl over the fact that they felt they were robbed after what happened at Supercard of Honor. If you guys saw that, the premier athletes lost to the Rascals, and they got humiliated. So they thought they can try to, let's just say this never happened if we won the match. I mean, everybody cannot forget this because Mark Sterling is nothing but a liar. He thought he had this match won, but however, Jordan Oliver was able to pick up the win thanks to the teamwork with his tag partner Alec Price onto, of course, Tony Nese. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, we did see a bit of an exclusive interview with Caprice Coleman talking to Eddie Kingston and Ortiz. Now, of course, Eddie Kingston said to Coleman that, you know, he doesn't see himself as a locker room, but he feels like he's the wall who is saying, look, we are the guys who are protecting the next generation, who are here to prove us wrong. And that's exactly what he do. And even Ortiz agreed with them. So they're like the gatekeepers of some sorts. And that's a cool thing to hear. Now, the Outrunners and Dalton Castle, as you all know, they won the ROH World 6-Man Tag Team belts against Shane Taylor Promotions at Supercard of Honor. And now they are putting this on a proven ground match, and that's exactly what they are doing. They're facing a guy named Danny Grandview, Chulo Montoya, and yikes, I don't know who these guys are, but however, you probably can guess right away that Dalton Castle and, of course, the Outrunners picked up the win, thanks to Dalton Castle picking up the win onto, I don't know if it's yikes, but just like that, it was completely over. Now, AR Fox had paid attention to what Shane Taylor Promotions was saying, so he, of course, knows where he's coming from, but however, he is telling them there's no way that he's going to end this as a one-hit wonder, because he cannot let that happen, and that's going to be our main event. Now, our next match, we have Aaron Solo versus Lio Rush. Now, of course, Lio Rush has been acting a bit of a different type of person for quite some time, but it didn't. Let's just say Aaron Solo should know better what's going to happen. But Leo Rush put him in the move called the Black Thunder, which is like the Blue Thunder Bomb. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, Deonna Purrazzo, as you know, defended and retained the ROH Women's Pure Championship. And now she's calling out for anybody to step up. And I have to say that it was a pretty good one, because she did end up in the Proving Ground match facing Janai Kai. And I thought Janai Kai was a perfect opportunity. However, neither person actually exceeded the rope breaks. And it was a miracle. But unfortunately, Janai Kai ended up on the wrong side of the Fujiwara armbar. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Well, tap out, my bad. Now, our next match, we have Billy Starks and Diamante taking on Queen Aminata and Mina Shirakawa. Obviously, this was probably an attempt to, of course, Athena to hurt Mina Shirakawa before the start of the Owen Hart tournament, since Mina and Athena will be facing. However, things were going well until Athena appeared and attacked Mina to try to break her in half. And of course, Queen Aminata did everything humanly possible to protect her. But however, it was a 3-on-2 scenario. Athena sending a direct message to Mina saying that she's nothing but a hussy, that she'll never beat her. Because it's true, Mina hasn't defeated Athena yet, but it could happen eventually. So we'll just have to wait and see. Now, well, I should mention the match ended in no disqualification, so in my opinion, either that or no contest. But if it was a disqualification, then Queen Aminata and Mina actually won. So just put it out there. Our main event is the ROH World Television title. AR Fox making his first title defense against Shane Taylor Promotions, but of course Shane Taylor was not alone. He did have Anthony Ogogo, or should I say the Idiot, of course, along with Trish Adora. You would have assumed they would have made sure this match goes in their favor, but however, it didn't go exactly like Shane Taylor would have happened, and it went on to hit the implant for him. But it was AR Fox with the 450 splash, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. So it was completely over right before it even began. So it was a beautiful event. So I think we're done with ROH. Let's move on with our last review, and this time it is TNA. Well, TNA. So we opened up, of course, with the system making their presence known. As you know, the system has reinvented themselves by removing 2 people and adding 2 more. But however, of course, their biggest accomplishment is obtaining the X Division title. And of course, Cedric Alexander is proud that he did what he wanted, is to destroy the lifelong dream and ambition from, of course, Leon Slater, who was unable to break the longest reigning record. So he's saying that he is the record destroyer, basically the dream destroyer, whatever. However, he was interrupted by, of course, Fabian Eichner, who just made his appearance, saying that he came for respect, redemption, and recognition. And that's exactly what he was there for. But of course, the system was not going to tolerate him interrupting their business or trying to disrupt what they are planning to do. But of course, Eichner took matters in their own hand. He single-handedly took out Myers, Bear Bronson, even Eddie Edwards. But however, his target is the X Division champion himself, of course, Cedric Alexander, and he put him in a submission, which put him in a bad move. But however, the system were able to pull him away, but this draws concern for the system. So we'll see what happens from there. Now, as you know, Daria Ray, who has been nothing but problems within TNA, of course, overturning Santino Morella's matches because she feels Santino has been making bad decisions. That's her saying. But of course, she brought back Steve Maclin because, of course, people call him a liability for what's going on. But however, Daria Ray decided to, of course, to say that she sees things different with Steve Maclin. So she is giving him the barking orders to make Mike Santana's life a living hell. Because, of course, Mike Santana will not fall in line with her. Of course, Mike Santana doesn't give a damn about her. All he wants to do is fight. So we'll see what happens from there. Our next match, we have Elena Black versus Indy Hartwell. But of course, in the ring, in the commentary booth, we did see Ariana Grace and Stax being there. The match was going great from the very beginning, but however, it was interrupted by Stax and Ariana Grace. Now, I wasn't too sure this match ended in a contest, but Ariana Grace took out Indy Hartwell, saying that, their business is ended. Come on, Ariana, you think it's over just because you attacked her? No, it doesn't end that way. But however, of course, Santino has unfinished business with Stax, saying that he was the one who manipulated her. And of course, Daria Ray decided to show up, who's saying, that he's not going to make the match. This is not going to happen, that sort of thing. She's trying to say, oh, you're not, that you used to be a judo master and that sort of thing. But we'll see what happens until then. But however, Daria has no time for this nonsense. Well, she needs to shut the hell up. That's what we think. Now, in the locker room, we did see, of course, the Elegant Brands doing their little, ooh, I'm so cute. However, unbeknownst to them, well, let's just say certain people just want them to shut up. And that is, of course, Rosemary, Ali, and Mara Shade. So they are a bit worried, because when the lights went off, you can see the lipstick saying, see you soon, from Mara, Rosemary, and Ali. I thought it was very touching, of course. Now, our next match, we have Vincent and Broken Matt Hardy, the lead. So, but however, Jeff and Dutch were in fact put in the handcuffs and, of course, in the ring post to ensure no interference happened. But however, of course, Vincent was smart enough to of course, set up a trap for Matt Hardy outside in the area where Dutch was in. And of course, Jeff can't do nothing about it. And that's something that kind of plays out pretty too well. Now, of course, out of desperation, Vincent decided to shove Matt Hardy into the referee, knocking him out, and then he collected the keys, where, of course, he was intending to release Dutch, but the lights went out, and that's where we heard, yep, Willow showed up and attacked them, and no one expected that. The real question is, did the Righteous bit off more than they can chew? They've been asking for this. Well, we'll just have to see. But however, it was Matt Hardy with the twist of fate. 1, 2, 3. Wonderful! And it ends just like that. Now, Elijah, of course, just jamming onto some tunes. And of course, AJ Francis was attempting to try to recruit him, saying it's all about money, money, money. Well, Elijah has no intention of that. But of course, AJ Francis, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes after him, because you don't turn away something like this. But that's something I would see. Now, Santino, of course, ran into Keith Jardine, of course, talking to him, saying, hey, this is your house. You're my guest. So it's more like, mi casa is su casa. And then, of course, Daria showed, what's her name? No, never mind. I'll get that in a little bit. But anyway, Santino, of course, put out a very interesting announcement. So I'm going to revise that a bit. So anyway, Santino, of course, made a huge announcement. If you guys remember, we have the Champions Challenge, where all champions will be teaming up, will be involved in a thing where their challengers or whatever will be in one side. So that's something we will see. And of course, Daria Ray showed up, saying that next week he will be facing against Stax. But I wouldn't be surprised on two different one front that the Cobra will not be allowed to use. That's something I know for sure. And of course, the system asked Daria, well, should I say Eddie Edwards is asking, let me handle Eichner. And of course, Daria agrees with that. So we'll see what happens. Now, our next match is the TNA International Championship. Mustafa Ali makes his defense against Chaz Starboy Hall. Yes, this very same one in Evolution. In WWE Evolve. And I have to say, he did a pretty good job to handle it. But of course, John Skyler gets involved, trying to assure this match ends to Mustafa Ali. But we'll see what happens. But however, Mustafa Ali was able to retain the belt when he applied a jackknife. 1, 2, 3, done. Now, Santino Marella was talking to Keith Jardine, talking about, this is Mikasa, Tsukasa, that sort of thing. However, Mara Shide had some words to say to Keith Jardine. Now, if you guys saw this recently, Keith Jardine was basically got in the face by the Alaskan brands, all because they think, oh, you're nothing but a fat lard. But Mara Shide is saying that she has to deal with someone from the Ellington brands. He asked Keith if she can be in his corner. So he agreed, because the reason is they're both from Albuquerque and they need to stick together, that sort of thing. So he agrees to that. Now, Eric Young, of course, went into a bit of a tough love pep talk, whatever you call it, to Macklin about the winning of the TNA World title, because, as you know, Eric Young won the Battle Royal, which he should have been already the next competitor, but Daria Ray decided to overturn that. Because if I was Eric Young, I would have told Daria Ray, don't get involved. So we'll see. Our next match, we have Jada Stone versus Xia Brookside. As you know, Brookside went to the dark side, betraying Li Yingling. But of course, we did see Xia Brookside attack Jada Stone by taking out her knee, and just like that, using a move called the dark side. 1, 2, 3, done. Now, of course, Stax and Ariana Grace are calling Santino that he's nothing more than a comedy act. But if I was Santino, I would not go in that route against Stax, because that's the last thing you need. And that's something, of course, Stax is counting on. He doesn't want the judo expert. He wants the comedy relief, because he thinks that will be easier to defend. Now, our main event is the TNA World title. Macklin gets his opportunity against Mike Santana, who, of course, obviously they have faced off before. But Macklin did whatever it took to try to dismantle Santana, but Santana was able to overcome everything that Macklin pulled, but it was the spin the block that put him away, and Mike Santana, 1, 2, 3, retained the belt. And I thought it was a pretty good, fun match. So that's how things ended. So we'll see what happens next week. But for now, let's move on to wrap up our episode with some news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So let's begin with upcoming events, starting with GCW. Now, as you know, we have the sold-out show this coming Sunday for Live in Milan. Another match has been announced, Jimmy F. and Lloyd taking on Leeds Lewis. And then, of course, we have the last ones left that will happen on the 20th June in Indianapolis. Joey Janela will take on Priscilla Kelly, formerly known as Gigi Dolan. Now, we do have the LA show, the America's Most Wanted, that will take place on the 27th. Nick Gage will take on Starboy Charlie. Now, it's still unclear about certain things about Starboy Charlie, because I will mention that later on about something very, very interesting what's going on here. Then, of course, we have two new shows that have been mentioned back to back on the same day. As you know, they'll be in Dallas on the 18th of July for Life of a Boss. No names have been mentioned yet who will be participating. And then the following day, the 19th of July, the Tussle in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's are the newest shows. And of course, we do have more on the Wrestling Revolver, No Country for Old Mansard. They did announce for the challenge from Myron Reed and Killer Kelly. We have Derek Dillinger and Kate Arquette will be accepting the challenge, so I can't wait to see this. Now, in regards about Starboy Charlie, I want to put out something. As you know, I mentioned by his evolved name, Chaz Starboy Hall. This is a very dumb decision that I think the WWE has been making, and people have been talking about it. According to this, WWE are telling that indie wrestlers who are signed as part of the ID contract will no longer use their indie names in any of the promotions. So go on forward, they'll be using their current names with the ID. So basically, like Chaz Starboy Hall, he'll be going by that name moving forward, which of course it sucks, but that's how it is. They want to control things. I know people have been talking recently about TKO, how much they are corrupting the whole thing. So that's what's going on. So leave a comment below. What do you guys think? You think this is a real dumb move by WWE to try to control things? Let me know. Now, as you know, Danhausen has becoming a new sensation since arriving in WWE, according to Nick Khan and Triple H. He is now the second biggest merch seller in WWE. I know. Hearing from Triple H and Nick Khan, that's hard to believe, but it seems like it is. So I'm just putting it out there. Kota Ibushi, many of you remember him. He recently was out on injury. He just left a bit of an announcement on this recently. Fightful Select reports saying, as you know, he heard about what's going on with Shinjuku FACE. He said this: the venue is where I had many matches is a place that professional wrestling organization have been grateful to. In particular, it was the perfect venue for independent wrestling promotions to hold regular shows. So he's very sad that this is happening. I mean, it's true. Many independent promotions had their shows there, you know, and including some of the bigger ones like All Japan. Noah had this too, and a few other like. But yeah, it is what it is. Now, Jack Cartwheel, many of you remember him. Now it seems that he is no longer part of the WWE ID contract. He is now in AAA, and this is what he had to say. And this is part of the Sports Jedi Network. It is safe to say I've asked. I am allowed to say that my contract to AAA. So yes, I no longer WWE ID. I'm full on AAA now. I do understand people have the idea that I'm still an ID. I'm an AAA guy, so I'm really happy about that. Now, many of you who don't know this, before this whole WWE ID thing happened, he actually did wrestle in AAA before, and it's not the first time, so it would make sense. And I have seen his work in AAA before, so it would make sense that's where he's probably going to go. Now, during a media call from Tony Khan about Willow Nightingale, and this is what was going on, he said that, you know, she was not cleared to go to Double or Nothing, and probably the best for us to heal up for weeks to come. Her injury happened during the match in the collision against Red Velvet. He noted that the TBS Championship situation will be addressed coming out of Double or Nothing. So basically, he'll wait after Double or Nothing, because I'm sure this is a priority that they need to do, but at some point. But yes, Asuka, as you know, she is returning to Japan due to personal matters, but she will be returning to WWE in the future. So basically, there's talk about her appearing less or something. I'm not sure, but yes, that's what I've been hearing. Now, Tony Khan also talked in the media call about Taz and, of course, Bryan Danielson. And he says that he tries to make the travel for Bryan Danielson and Taz as easy as possible, which sometimes involve rotating commentary teams. TK notes it's hard for them to do long flights with injuries that they had in wrestling. And it's understandable. You want to make this easy for them as possible, but it is what it is. Shelton Benjamin, of course, talked about how David Finlay was like a little brother to him. And, of course, he's looking forward to facing him at Stadium Stampede. So it's kind of good to hear from that. I can't wait. Now, this next one is the one that kind of got to me. And this one is, of course, many of you heard about what happened with Ludwig Kaiser, or as we know him now as El Gran Americano. El Gran Americano, of course. Well, apparently he was arrested, but according to reports, one report said that he turned himself in. Others saying that, you know, he was arrested due to domestic violence. And I don't know if that was true. However, another report has said that this is what really happened, and this one is the one where people are. Let me pull that up a bit. Many saying that this resulted in an altercation, inside the elevator. According, this man told Ludwig that he'll call ICE on his girlfriend. Many of you know that he's dating the ring announcer from AAA, Andrea or something like that. I think that's her name. Hold on, I think yes, Andrea Basarte. So basically, this guy was telling him, "I'm gonna call ice on her," and of course, look, two things I can say: he did the right thing in turning himself in because he knows what he did was wrong, and second, that piece of garbage had it coming. Ludwig did the right thing out of principle because you don't go out and say just because your girlfriend is Mexican, you're gonna call ICE. You don't say that to a man in his face, and that's very uncalled for. And I'm glad that Ludwig took matter of his own hands, like commands, like saying, if you talk like that about the woman I love, like that, you get an ass beating, and he deserved it. Now, but of course, now this is what I did hurt later. There was supposed to be, of course, a serenade, una serenata, as we call it in Spanish, that it will happen on AAA, but apparently it got canceled because of this situation. So it sucks, but it's understandable. Look, guys, I don't blame Ludwig for what he did. He did the right thing in beating that guy up, and out of principle, knowing that you don't say that to a guy's face about his Mexican girlfriend. And second, he did the right thing in turning himself in, knowing too he did something wrong. But like I said, that guy had it coming. So, I mean, I gotta ask you guys out there, would you do the same thing what Ludwig did? Leave a comment down, you tell me. So, I think that's pretty much it, so let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, I'm gonna see if I can try to, of course, catch up with the last remaining shows of New Japan Pro Wrestling. As you know, we're doing the best of the Super Juniors. I already missed out on day 2, 3, and 4, and apparently there's gonna be a 5th. So we'll see what happens. I really want to do this, guys. I really want to catch up with that. So we'll just have to wait and see. And don't forget, this weekend we have Double or Nothing. I'm looking forward to that. So as of right now, I will say this, that I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.